On the observation of the sketch, you may notice that we have two major features in the model. The first feature is the circular component, which is extruded for a certain depth. And the second feature is also seen in the front view. It is also a semicircular extruded component. So let us try to create the first feature, this component, and this is a semicircle with a radius of 28 units. The radius 18 corresponds to the inner radius, which has to be removed using the remove material command. So we will be removing the material at the end of the modeling. So we have to first create the total model, and once we are ready with the total model, then we can perform the creation of holes, chamfers, rounds, or material removal and addition of profile or retractor ribs. So this is the approach. First we need to create the total model shape at first. So in order to create the total geometry, I will be creating the first feature, which is a semicircular typed component. I will utilize the extrude command and extrude it by creating a sketch of the radius R28. So first I will be utilizing the center and ends arc, and randomly at any center point I will be creating the radius arc. Now just remember, this particular dot or this particular center of the arc is exactly at the position of half of the total width. The total width of the geometry is 20 units. Since we have maintained a symmetry, the distance from the outer edge to this center line is 10 units. Okay, so we have to follow the same thing, and you can also see in the dimensions over here that from the top edge the geometry has to be maintained at a distance of 10 units. That means the remaining distance of 10 units should be removed. Clear? So I have directly clicked over here on the center line because this region has to be removed in the future. So now first I'll maintain the radius, and the radius is equal to 28 units. I'll simply press enter. Now we have to check for the dimensions, which will help us to place the arc at a desired location. So when I am observing the arc, you may see that we have a distance of 54 units from the outer edge to the center of the arc. So I'll just click on dimensions. I will go to the outer edge. I will change the view to no hidden. Let me click on dimensions again. I'll go to the outer edge of the geometry and click on the center of the arc, and I'll just randomly click over here. So I will be getting a distance of 35, which I have to change it to 54 millimeter. So I have placed the arc at its desired location. I have also maintained the radius. Now I need to close the arc, because in order to extrude, I have to see that the sketch what I am creating must be a closed loop. I'll come back to the normal shading with edges. I'll press OK right now, and we must go to the symmetry and extrude it for a length of, you may see in the top view, this line and this line, the line which I'm highlighting with the cursor right now, represents the circular component in the form of top view, and this region is the rib, which is seen in the front view. So you may see that the extrusion of this circular component or the circular feature in the geometry is along the total width of the geometry, and the total width of the geometry is equal to 72 units. So in order to do that, we simply have to click on the text field and enter 72 units or 72 millimeters, after which we can press OK. We will be having the model or the feature added to the geometry. Let us move forward and create the next feature. So again, let us utilize the procedure of utilizing the two-dimensional sketching options and create the geometry. But we have to see that what is the total extrusion length of this geometry. You may notice that the circular feature has to be extruded because it is very clear from the top view. But we have to see what is the total extrusion length or the depth. So it is not mentioned in this particular view, and it is definitely not mentioned in the front view as well. It cannot be presented in the front view. We have a side view over here on the side, and we have the dimension of 54 units, and this is the extrusion length of the circular component or the circular feature in the geometry what we are going to create right now. So I'll simply press extrude again. I'll go to the plane, align the view, and I'll create a circle at first, and the circle diameter has to be 36 units. So I'll just randomly click create a circle. First we can randomly create it, then we have to maintain the placement of the feature. Placement in the sense the dimensions with respect to the sketch what is given to us. So firstly the diameter of the circle is 36 millimeter. So we have maintained the diameter right now. The next task is to maintain the placement of the circle. And if we are noticing over here, we have a distance of 64 units from the center axis of the first feature what we have created. And apart from that, we also have a distance of 54, and 54 plus 64 can also be counted in order to maintain the placement of this particular circle. So you got two options right now. You can either choose the outermost edge and create a dimension from here to the center of the circle. I'll just go to Ctrl Z, outer edge and the center, press OK. We can just type 54 plus 64 and maintain the total length. But it is advised to utilize the dimensions what are given to us to the maximum extent. So we have to utilize 64 units over here. So in order to use 64 units, we need to have an axis over here. And we may notice that there is no presence of axis. Axis is not to be seen. So let us verify whether it is turned on. So under this option, I can find that the axis is turned on, but still I'm not able to see it. So in this particular case, I can simply just close this. I'll just double click on the circular arc. I'll just press a single click and I'll click on axis. So now you can see the axis over here, which is present over here. Clear? And also you can see in the model tree, there is a presence of axis. So which indicates that we have created the axis for this particular circle. Now again, I'll just hide the model tree. I'll go to extrude. I'll click on the sketch. Now let me quickly create a circle of a diameter 36 units. Now we can go to dimensions again. And now we can click on the center of the circle and the axis of the circle and click over here. So we are having the dimension mentioned, which has to be altered and it has to be changed to 64 units. So first placement is completed. The placement with respect to x-axis. Now we have to be bothered about the placement with respect to y-axis. So you can see in the geometry that the placement of the center point of the circle has been represented with a dimension, and the value of the dimension is 62 units in the y-axis. And this 62 units corresponds to the top surface of the base and the center point of the circle. So what we have to do is, you can see automatically I got a dimension 41 units. And this dimension is not from the top of the surface of the base, but it is from the plane what we have, the symmetric plane. So I need to create another dimension over here. I will click on the center point and the top surface and press OK, or the middle click. Now I can alter the dimension to 62. Now we have finally placed the circle at the appropriate place. The next job for us is to create the vertical base. So in order to create the vertical base, first I will be creating a center line. And you may notice that the width of the base or the rectangular base of this particular circular component is having a width of 10 units. So what I'll do is, you got two options. You can use a line over here and you can just simply connect it to the base, and you have to see that it is symmetric on both the sides and the distance should be 10 units. But I will not be doing that thing. I'll simply go to rectangle. I'll create a corner rectangle. Because I have a center line, it is more easy for me to create a symmetric rectangle. So this is a symmetric rectangle. I'll just create it, but I need to ensure that I have to delete the segments, because in order to create an extrusion, the total sketch must be a closed loop. And right now it is a closed loop, but I have to alter the dimension of the rectangle. It has to be 10 units. Now I'll just extrude it along the symmetric plane with an extrusion length as seen in the side view, which is equal to 54 units. So we have created the second feature according to the sketch which is given to us. The next job for us is to create the ribs. So right now we have to utilize the profile rib because trajectory rib is not suitable for this problem. In order to create the profile rib, it is a very simple task. We need to go to the ribs, select the profile rib, and we have to select the sketch plane. So this profile rib is seen clearly in the front plane, and you can see in the top view the width of the rib. So you can select the front plane and align your view. Now we need to simply connect the edges. So I'll just click on the line, go to the edge, and I'll just join a tangent over here. You can see a symmetric symbol of, you can see a symbol of tangent over here, the constraint tangent. So you have to click over here again, and you have the sketch ready with you. Simply press OK. So you're not finding a rib over here. This is because the direction of the rib has been on the other side. So I need to click on the direction in order to generate a rib. Now we need to alter or change or vary the dimension of the width, which is equal to 10 units. It is clearly seen in the top view. Apart from that, we also have to ensure that it is symmetric. It shouldn't be on the left side or the right side, but it has to be equally on both the sides. So we have created rib number 1. Let us move forward and create the next rib. So the procedure is very simple and same. I'll go to the rib, select the sketch, align the view. Now you can see that this particular rib is tangent to both the circles. So let us create a tangent line. First I'll change the view to no hidden. I'll create a tangent line from this base, or maybe from the midpoint first of the top circle, and I'll just join at a tangent position. So automatically I'm getting a constraint over here. I'm just stopping over there. So this point is tangent, it is well and good, but I have to see that the next point has to be tangent to the circle. So in order to convert it to a tangent feature, I can go to constraints and I can look for tangent constraint. So I'll select the constraint, I'll select the line first, then I'll select the edge. So when I'm selecting the edge, I'm getting a message over here to resolve the sketch. This is because the point of the line is currently at the midpoint. So midpoint is also a constraint, because you can see over here we have the midpoint coincident. It is coincident with the midpoint basically. So we have to see that we have to convert the particular midpoint. We have the midpoint over here, and we have to see that we have to convert the midpoint into tangent constraint. So I'll just delete the midpoint over here, and you can see we got a tangency over here. So I have to delete the extra segment what I'm having over here, and I have the rib ready with me. I'll just change the view type, and we have to change the direction. So do not get scared if you're not finding the rib over here. Simply change the direction of the rib and you can visually see the rib in the dynamic view. So we have created another rib. This is well and good. So we have completed the creation of 2 ribs. We also have a rib over here which is seen on the top view and on the side view. So you can see it is connecting the bottom surface edge and the main feature. So this particular starting point of the rib has to be at a distance of 28 units. So I'll just create a rib over here in the next video.